Hey guys, I'm Chris, and welcome back to the 8-Bit Guitarist. Today we're going full nerd and I'm going to walk you through writing a tone row generator in Python. Fair warning, if you don't already have a little bit of background in Python, this is going to be a rough episode for you. I have included a download link for the complete program in the description, so you can follow along if you want to, or if you just want to poke at it after the fact, you're welcome to. I've also included some links down below for beginning Python for those of you who are interested in this but don't know where to start. First off, what is a tone row? So here's a little bit of music history. Early 21st century, the world's in a lot of turmoil, and art usually reflects life. Composers started using some strange experimental techniques to expand how we think of music. Enter Arnold Schoenberg. If you don't already know who he is, just know he's an important composer, and two, he's got some weird sounding music, and it's awesome. Now, I'm way oversimplifying here, but he was into this 12-tone technique, where all 12 notes are equally important and have the same value. And we shouldn't have to worry about silly things like keys and functional harmony. So knowing all 12 notes are important, the idea is to come up with a composition using each of the 12 notes. However, you can't repeat a note until each of the other notes have been played. The exception is you can repeat a note. We call that sequence of non-repeated notes a tone row. Now, all that said, how does one come up with a tone row? Like, it can be either completely deliberate or it can be completely random. And in the age of the microprocessor, what better way to create a tone row than to create a program that generates a tone row for you? Now let me preface this all by letting you know I'm going to turn this into a way bigger project. So just today we're going to write the simple generator, and then later on we're going to make some cool music with it. That'll be in a future video. But all of that said, let's get into the programming. What you're going to be seeing is Notepad++ writing in Python 3, by the way. So what our program will do is simply get the number of notes in the tone row from the user and output the rows based on the number requested. So I start all my programs with a framework like so. I like to have comments with modules, variables, functions, runtime, and of course, I tag it at the top just like if I would a bash script. And of course we start with the main function under runtime, main, all that. So let's get the user input. I'm calling the variable we're getting from the user as gennum as a number of the notes to generate. Now as I go, I add the variable under the variables section to be initialized, and I just do this just for like organizational purposes. So put it in the program and then put it in the variable section. The operative portion will look like this. But we're going to wrap it in a while loop to keep the program running until the user stops it. I'll be honest, like what I have here actually is kind of buggy. It loops just fine, but I'm having trouble getting it to exit the loop when I hit 0. I really haven't poked at it this much. It's probably an easy fix. I just haven't done anything with it. So if you guys know how to do it, just let me know in the comments. Notice that we're going to be passing the gennum variable into the function. Next, we need to start building the function that actually does the work. I'm calling this notegen. So we got def notegen, and remember it's going to be receiving gennum from the main function. Now here's where the real logic begins. I started by creating a list with all 12 notes. I'm calling it noteR for note array. Yeah, I know it's a list in Python. You can yell at me, call me names in the comments, whatever. I'm going to be using array and list interchangeably. What we'll essentially be doing later in the program is scrambling this list and then outputting however many elements the user is requesting in gennum. But first, we need to put logic in place to ensure that the notes aren't duplicated. We start by finding the number of times we need to randomize and print the list. So we divide the number of notes requested by the user and divide it by the number of possible notes, which is 12. I'm calling this r times, like array times, I guess. Don't forget to add that under the variable section. Remember, since this is integer math, only the number of times that 12 goes into gennum will be found without any remainder. So for those of you not familiar with it, there will be no decimal generated. Like if you had 13 divided by 4, it's going to come out with 3 because the 4 only goes into 13 3 times, and that last one doesn't matter in this case. So what I'm getting at is we need to define what the remainder is and assign that to a separate variable. And of course, we add that variable to the variable list as well. So we have the number of times the array needs looped and the remainder, which means we need to subtract the remainder from whatever is left over so we know what to print. Keep in mind, if the number requested is divisible by 12, then GenNum won't be affected. Basically, anything minus 0 is the same number, right? This is something we have to tell the program, though, to keep our math straight. And here's my logic. Basically, if the number is not divisible by 12, then the final loop is not going to be a full loop. Therefore, we start this while loop logic one ahead than we normally would. As you can see, it loops for each time calculated at our times. The random dot shuffle, I think, is self-explanatory. It randomly shuffles the list, or array, whatever you want to call it. Since we're just now talking about the random module, I think it would be a good time to mention that we need to include the random module at the top. Next, the notes in the list are printed, each one onto a new line, hence the /n. The while loop is incremented, and then we proceed. I'm not going to lie to you guys here, I included another line to shuffle the array, but I don't remember if I included it for good reason or not, so I'm just leaving it at this point. I'm not going to mess with it. And then we do a final while loop for the remainder. I did have to include a line to convert GenNum to an int because for some reason the system didn't already see it as an integer, even though I initialized it as an integer. So we just do a GenNum equals int GenNum. And that's all there is to that. Let's run it. And as you can see, whatever number I put in, it'll loop through. I can put in any whole number. For the sake of demonstration this time, I didn't put in any input validation or anything, so we're just kind of doing this as is. But yeah, I can put in like 1,000 or whatever, 1023, 1013, and it'll generate all the way down till I kill it. That's all I have for this week. Leave me a comment below with how you think I could have done this program better, or what other methods you'd go about writing a program like this. Remember to find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat, all at the 8-Bit Guitarist. Also be sure to find me on Patreon as well. I've got some benefits up, and more are coming soon. Thanks everybody. Remember, stay connected, stay creative.